Welcome to the Roundtable Podcast, recorded live every day on the Roundtable Discord server, the most interesting server on Discord. Find us on all the major social media platforms.
Good afternoon, this is the Roundtable Podcast. You can find us on BitChute, YouTube, Spotify, and I think that's it. We are a Discord server where we try to hold constructive conversations on an array of subjects. We hold family vibes here, and the community has welcomed me aboard to do a guided course and some practices of ceremonial magic, what they are, the guided practices themselves, and some basics along with it. I'm really pleased to be here today. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it, honestly. So where we were at last time, just to give a brief synopsis to what's been happening, we talked about thought reformation, visualizations, and meditations that one would do, as well sigil work, which Shogun so wonderfully did the workshop on that. He used chaos magic for that outlet, and I think it does the job well. And at the end of it, if anyone did do their sigils and if they've had any results, you'll be allowed to share that at the end of it when the discussion opens up. But starting out, I'm going to guide us through the rest of this, and thank you all for joining me, and please be patient with me. I'm going to do the best I can. So where we're going to start today is with dealing with doubt. Doubt is one of those things that's going to come up over and over and over when we're in practice. Especially like when you were probably doing the practices from the last course is like thought reformation. There's a lot of doubt that's going to come up just in that. Because like while you're trying to reform a thought and put a positive spin on it, you want to doubt the very process of that in itself. And you doubt yourself and your own positivity. Like, do you really feel that this is the positive outlook? Do you feel that way, or have you just wrote down a different perspective and trying to convince yourself of that? Doubt is something that's going to constantly come up as a person. We doubt everything on a daily basis, and it's one of the forefronts within magic or any system of faith is devoting faith to yourself in the universe, or God, however you see that. So I'm going to read a short passage from the Damien Eccles High Magic book. It will be referenced in the audio, the podcast text channel, and as well in the Magick text channel of the Roundtable server. I'm going to just start reading. Doubts are just a part of the process of learning magic. Most of us have been told that magic isn't real. We might grow up believing in it, but the world tells us that growing up means becoming realistic and seeing that magic is just a fantasy, something relegated to fictional books and movies. The unfortunate message, in addition to other forms of social disempowerment, can make it difficult to trust the process when first starting to practice magic. Everyone experiences doubt when they first start working with magic. It's not just you, it's everyone, including me. Doubt takes a lot of forms. You might wonder if you're doing it right now, or you might question if you've got the details of a certain visualization correct, or you might ponder a lot on one step or the other. For example, am I supposed to use my right hand if I am left-handed? Or you might have a vague sense of messing up. Well, I'm left-handed. Or you might have I reread that. Well, I just want you to know that these kinds of thoughts are to be expected on this journey. Doubts are just a part of the process of learning magic. Some of us experience doubt every time we try something new, and this can be especially true with something as out of the ordinary as magic. You might think, this isn't what I thought magic was going to be like. And I think it encapsulates a lot right there in itself. And the reason why is because, again, there's a lot of stigma around the word magic itself. And it's not what it used to mean once upon a time. I think that once we kind of get around the definition of what we have for magic in this particular practice, it's going to help a lot with the doubt we have. The reason being is because again with this stigma, it's going to create a lens at which you see this practice. If you're thinking of a rabbit out of a hat kind of trick, you're immediately going to have a completely different perspective. And if you hear the word magic with a K or read it, then your implication is going to be occultism and whatever stigma follows that. So just that in itself around this one word creates so much doubt. And clearing your way with your intuition and knowing what you feel about something is creating faith within oneself. You have to be able to discern these things for yourself. So if you doubt something, I personally recommend that you not do it until you're fully with it, because sincerity is going to be everything along this journey. And it is so hard to be sincere with it. There's been so many times where we're going to go over the quad-ballistic cross in a little bit, where I'll do the quad-ballistic cross and I'll feel goofy or even have doubt about doing it. Like there's just not this full presence about me when I'm trying to do this practice. And that completely gets in the way of what the mission of it is, and that's to get into deeper states of meditation and influencing your reality with your thought form. Doubt is going to be our number one enemy on this journey. And the sooner you can confront it in whatever way you see possible is going to be the best way. And there's no way for somebody to tell you how to get over doubt. That is a very, very personal emotion. We all have nuances to why we doubt anything. Before we move on, if someone has a thought or question, you're welcome to interrupt before I start reading again. If not, we'll just continue on. Okay. I appreciate you guys. So first, we're going to be going over the tools we're going to be using in High Magic. Your first tool is going to be your mind, indefinitely. Your imagination is everything. The way you visualize reality, the way you interact with it, all depends on your conscious mind. Just like we were talking about with doubt. Doubt will be the thing that dulls the blade that is your mind, right? Doubt is going to be number one in the way. And our mind is the most important tool in magic because it heavily intertwines with your physical reality. And if you don't have control of your mind, what you're doing with your physical reality are not going to be aligned. And that's going to be just a constant back and forth with you in reality. And nobody has perfected this. Nobody has perfected controlling their mind. We do our best. And that's one of the goals throughout this practice, is trying to get control of your mind. The second tool we're going to be using is the wand. The wand is used for directing energy. It's represented as intuition associated with the element of fire. So when I talk about directing energy, you can quite literally imagine this. So say for example, I have a talisman with an angel sigil on it, right? I would use my wand while doing a prayer or incantation of some sort. I will charge this with a visualization using the wand as a physical tool to help my mind register what I'm doing in reality. You know, and one of the examples I'll give for this is because you remember when you were a kid, right? And it may sound silly, but it's true. You pick up a stick in the yard and it would become a sword immediately. In your mind's eye, you didn't pick up a stick, you picked up a sword and you went to battle with whatever you desired. And it was real to you as a child. It wasn't just you playing in the backyard. It was real. And it was some of the best moments of your life. So the thing here is it's not that we're kids in our backyards playing anymore. We're adults in a very real world trying to make a very real impact energetically. So you want to hold that same reverence and passion that you kind of did when you were a child with that sword in the backyard, with your visualizations, etc. Because this is going to be what empowers this tool. You know what I mean? Because this tool is a reflection of your mind, and then this tool becomes what you need it to be. And you being able to channel the most authentic parts of yourself through this tool are going to mean whether it works or not at all. That's pretty good example, just to start off with and explain why, again, doubt can get in our ways, and becoming more in tune with the divine child it takes us more and more down this journey and having results. The more faith we have in the magic we do, the more great works that come about. So I'm going to move on to just a couple other tools, but I'm going to just kind of breeze through these definitions because I like to move on without boring everyone to death tonight. The sword and dagger is associated with the divine masculine. It's used for an array of things such as cutting cords, banishing unwanted energy associated with the element of air. The chalice is representing the divine feminine and all its inherent qualities. It's used for charging water, wine, etc. And then you should drink it and digest it and all of its spiritual substance through whatever visualization you prefer. It is associated with the element of water. The sigil, Pinnacles, and Talismans. For this example, I will use angel sigils, talismans to get the idea across. You would use a sigil or talisman of a particular angel to charge it with its associated qualities, and or to use it for invocation purposes. As well, you can carry it with you, or to send the deity out and to accomplish any said task given. Pinnacles are associated with the element of earth. Incense are all associated with different things and can vary greatly depending on what you need them for. But to get the point across, it helps raising energy or invoking or evocation or solidifying a vibe for ritual or meditation. Oils, herbs, and alcohol. These as well can vary greatly depending on what you're doing. Anything from oils for smell and cleaning your home to herbs for medical reasoning. All can be charged in a circle as well. Divination is the art of using symbols and physical tools to gain insight on things you wish to know. Later, we're going to be touching more on divination in its own circle entirety because it takes a lot to explain that. But I have it down here in the tools because it is a very important tool. Crystals. Crystals are a great tool because they have an abundance of natural energy and each have their own significance in practice. Candles. They are the conduits, and fire produces energy, and this is one of our deepest mediums on the table. The altar. It represents the earthly world where we reside, and the tools placed upon it represent our intention. Anything can be used as an altar, but traditionally, we would use a black cube in proportion to yourself sitting cross-legged on the floor. Okay, so that's a brief walkthrough of the tools that one would use in ceremonial magic. Right about now, if anyone has any thoughts or questions about this, it's a good time to jump in before we move on. So I'm going to leave just a minute of space and speak your mind if you'd like to.
So, when it comes to ceremonial magic, how do you, measure how effective it is, with respect to results?
So when you're trying to measure the results of what you're doing in ceremonial magic, it's going to be a very personal thing. I would say it's like the kind of things where one has a conversation with God or has a prayer, and then some weeks later, whatever they were talking about or praying about comes to reality. And so that result can't be recorded or defined well enough to illustrate to somebody else, but I can give a couple examples of how for me it has been defined. So my refrigerator went out, you know what I mean? The bitch broke. And I was without a refrigerator for a couple months, and I kind of was getting desperate, didn't have the money to get the refrigerator. And I remember sitting down and walking through a basic, Ballistic cross, LBRP, and talking with divinity. I didn't invoke anything. I just was having a conversation with God, or however you see it. And I was just confiding how, I don't know how I'm going to do this, so on and so forth. And then, closed the circle and walked away. A month later, a friend hits me up, works at a restaurant. They're throwing out a very good refrigerator, and they're going to take it to the dump. And if I wanted it, they could just drop it off at my house. The refrigerator had only been used for 2 years. They just didn't have the room for it and got a bigger one. So they were just going to get rid of it. So in this example for me, that's how a result came to reality out of a very basic kind of practice and then meditation and then walking back out into reality and then it coming to me. So that's kind of, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But like to add on to it even further, do you like if it fails to happen, do you take that also into consideration? You know, like with respect to how many times it succeeded?
Absolutely. Like when I'm confronted with something that didn't come to fruition, I used to get doubtful. Like right then, that's where doubt starts to seep in because, oh, this didn't become reality for me. You know, I always looked inwards and kind of had a stoic value about it. Like this is something to do with me and what I'm doing, right? And if I can be better, then my results will be better. So if anything, it inspired me to actually be a better person in some weird way. Is that if my manifestations weren't coming to me, then I was undeserving to some degree. And this can kind of vary depending on what you're asking for and what you're trying to manifest. So that might come off a little smuggish to somebody if they're thinking about a different intent. But on just a day-to-day basic, like, do I need substance? Do I need this book? Or like, you know what I mean? Like smaller things, not grand scale things. Trying to get those things is very, very hard in the beginning. And the more small things that pop up along the journey, it kind of solidifies that faith and like, oh yeah, this is working. And when it doesn't happen, it just lets me know that I need to do some more work. And I don't get insulted by it or offended by it, by the universe not giving me what I wanted. I just take it as a lesson.
Got it. Thank you for your response.
Yeah, no problem. Does anyone else have a thought before we move on? Okay. I appreciate y'all hanging out. This is really cool. I think I should mention this, actually. It's not in my notes, but it did just come to mind. So a Book of Shadows, it's a really important tool. I kind of noted it a couple of times. I've had it in casual conversation, but I don't know if it's been in one of these recording sessions, so I do want to make sure that I get this in between the lines of like tools real quick. Your Book of Shadows is a journal. To put simply as possible and to demystify the mystical, it is a journal. It's what you keep notes. Everything you do, your practices, your thought reformations, your visualizations, your results, everything along the spiritual journey you're going to be doing in ceremonial magic, you want to have a book that you write as much as you possibly can in it. Short, brief, that's it. Keep a journal, keep track of yourself, keep track of your practices. It helps a lot. Okay, so we're going to move on. Let's see here. Let's get into the Quabalistic Cross. So the Quabalistic Cross, and I'm gonna use this these bullet points from the book of High Magic once more again, reference it. It centers our conscious and helps us focus. It breaks us out of habitual patterns of anxiety and stress. It stabilizes and balances our aura. It clears debris from our energy centers and prevents stagnation. It preps us to receive an influx of divine energy. It protects us from any negative energy we encounter in the environment. Okay. So all these screenshots, I'll be posting them in the podcast and the Magic channel. Just another FYI, so you'll be able to backtrack later if you'd like. So the idea here with the Quabalistic Cross is kind of like it said there, is it's about preparing yourself, one, to be able to receive more, and that comes from making yourself stronger. Just like your mind, you want to be working this muscle, right? So your energy, your aura, is the same kind of thing. Like it's a muscle all of its own, and it protrudes from your conscious reality. In solidifying it, crystallizing it, the best of your ability is what's going to make your magic the most impactful in the world. So that's why we kind of always do a Quabalistic Cross before and after any ritual whatsoever. You will always do a Quabalistic Cross. Once you get about 4 or 5 years down the path, you know, I said always, but now I'm a liar. You'll actually get to a point where you won't feel like you need to do it all the time because you feel that you're crystallized, your aura is already crystallized, and you'll just know. And this intuition, your third eye, and all that will come into play, and you'll very much know from your higher self where you're at and whether you need to or not to do this. So we're gonna do a guided meditation real quick, and that's the Ballistic cross. And though this may seem long because I am reading it off, I promise it's not. Once you get the hang of it, it's just like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Like, it's so short. But it seems longer because I really want to get these visualizations across, and I think this guide does that very well. So, the Ballistic cross meditation version 1. Stand up. If you want to participate. If not, just listen along. That's okay. Step 1. Stand up. Close your eyes and feel the ground beneath your feet. Keep your spine aligned and relaxed. Inhale and visualize your body growing. Don't just see it happen visually. Feel your body physically expanding. Imagine your body growing in this way until the town or city where you live in is tiny and beneath your feet. Breathing in, you grow larger and larger. Before long, your body stands above your state, and soon you enlarge until the entire country is small below you. You expand more and more, larger than the planet. Inhaling, you expand into the cosmos until Earth is no more than a speck beneath your feet, yet you remain connected to it, as if held by gravity. Now you are massive in size, larger than even the greatest of stars. You see the stars of our galaxy and others all around you, in every direction, for as far as your eyes can see. Inhale and relax. Turn your attention to the top of the universe. There's that blinding white light you encountered in the middle pillar. It's the source of all creation, shining brilliantly. As you inhale, see the light descend in a shaft to the top of your head, traveling billions of light years through the universe. When the light finally reaches you, touch your forehead with the first 2 fingers of your right hand. The light penetrates down into your forehead, but the shaft of light is still connected in a shining calm all the way up to the top of the universe. Inhale, and watch as the light grows brighter and brighter. Now vibrate the first mantra, which is Atai. The shaft of light vibrates with your voice and then becomes more solid. Inhale again, and see the shaft of light descend into your body all the way down until it exits at the bottom of your feet. From there, it travels all the way down to the bottom of the universe, anchoring you there. Now bring the same fingers of your right hand down in a straight line to the middle of your chest, close to where your heart is. As you inhale, the light connecting you to the bottom of the universe grows incredibly vibrant. Vibrate the second mantra. Mauku. The light vibrates and grows stronger. Now draw the first 2 fingers of your right hand across your chest, touching your right shoulder. As you do so, a shaft of light moves from your center in that direction, leaving your body to travel to the far reaches of the universe and anchoring you there. Breathe in and watch the light grow more and more vibrant. Now vibrate. Vegabura. The light becomes clearer and stronger. Now draw your fingers across your chest and over to your left shoulder. A shaft of light follows your center, beaming out your shoulder and tying you to that side of the universe. Inhale and see the shaft of glowing incredibly bright, as brilliant as you can make it. Vibrate the mantra. Vegedula. As the light grows brilliant and vivid, now fold your hands over your heart. In this case, It doesn't matter which hand goes on top. You now have a cross of light running through your body, and your body is the center point of this celestial cross. Pay attention to the light, how it comes down from the source of creation and anchors you into the bottom of the universe, how it beams through your shoulders on each side and ties you to those opposite poles of the universe. Inhale. The cross grows impossibly bright. Vibrate. Leolamen. The cross grows even brighter, as bright as you can make it. Exhale. Let the image fade as you slowly open your eyes. Clap your hands to mark the transition in modes of consciousness. Pay attention to your current physical form and look around at your present surroundings. You are stronger now, more anchored, more focused. Move around a little and get as comfortable as possible as your physical body after performing the Ballistic cross. Some people like to exert themselves physically in order to regain contact with the physical world. Now, in the text, Hi Magick, there will also be a version 2 of this, but I prefer the first version. I figured it had better visualizations for the first time around. So, before we move on to the final segment, and actually I think I'm going to pass over the seasonal fourfold breaths, because I feel like the Ballistic cross, I really want that one to sink in the most. And I also don't want to bore you guys to death, and I want to get into like the workshop itself and like exploring this more as much as we can, and I want to clear any doubts or confusion. So if you have a question real quick about what we just did, please ask. Any thoughts at all? No?
What book is the practice from? Or like
If you check the Magick chat, I have it linked as well. You can find it there, and in the podcast text channel, I will link it at the end of the discussion, and the specific things we went over tonight, I will post those screenshots in the podcast text channel in a little bit when I have the chance.
Hi, I don't know if you heard me earlier. Can you hear me now?
No, I didn't catch you. What's up? We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so part of the time that you were doing or intoning those sounds with those, I don't know what they were, blah, blah, whatever. Sometimes it would cut in and out a little bit, right?
Okay.
So it seemed like part of it was chopped out. I was wondering a couple of things. One, what the significance is of those words and what they were.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a mantra and it is a prayer. Let me see if I can find the specific thing, and I'll go ahead and post the screenshots here for you guys as well, so you can kind of like backtrack and check in on yourselves. So it says, Ate, thou art, Malkuth, the kingdom, Vegubra, the power, Vegudula, the glory, Le'alim, forever, and Amen. So be it. So, in English, just straightforward, thou art the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever, so be it. Ate, Malkuth, Vegubra, Vegula, La'alim, Amen. And that was the English and Hebrew. And I probably did not pronounce it properly, but that's what it is.
And then you said them, obviously with some power in your voice there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm thinking you probably had the intention of what the meanings were while you were saying that. But what was the significance of doing it at the different positions?
So, like the order I did it, or the way I did it? I'm confused.
Well, you said a couple when you were at in the
Mm-hmm.
the forehead or third eye.
Right.
Some of the chest, a couple on the right side, a couple on the left side.
Oh,
Was there a
okay.
significance to the positioning?
Oh, yes,
and
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so Ate, thou art. So when you're taking your two fingers and you're pointing it towards your third eye, essentially, you're announcing that you are, that your consciousness is, thou art. And so you're physically clarifying to your conscience and your subconscious that you are by pointing to yourself in your mind's eye. And Malkuth, the kingdom represents the kingdom of God, right? So, and this is from biblical interpretations, but the kingdom, you would point to, traditionally it's actually to your groin and the golden dawn, but I do it at the chest. I'm just more comfortable with that, but it has just as much symbolism either way. So you are the earth, the kingdom, the glory, and it's essentially saying you're announcing and confirming with yourself that you are divinity forever, and that's essentially it. So, and the power and the glory are your right hand shoulder and your left hand, and it goes there because it aligns with the Kabbalah, the tree of life, and we'll actually be getting more into that later. And I plan on doing a whole episode on particularly the tree of life in itself, because it is expansive to some degree. But that's why it's in the positions it is, because it also aligns with the tree of life. And that's also why we're going over this in the beginning, is because it gives you some of the basics of the tree of life. So everything's going to be building up to the more complex stuff that comes later. And we'll be using the tree of life and the Kabbalah representation of it for that diagram of exploring the mind, body, and soul.
Thank you.
I hope that answered it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's see here.
Anchoring. Sorry, just more questions. How about the anchoring with the pillars of light that are being stretched out from, up, down, and side to side? Is that for the same reasons?
For the same reasons, like
basically when you're doing you're doing each position. Was it so that you could extend those intentions out, up, or down, or to the left, or right, or to the left?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when it comes to, like we were talking about, like crystallizing our auras, so we're trying to refine the light body, or the rainbow body, as some other traditions have referred to it. And so that's essentially trying to affirm to yourself that you are an angel, you're an omnidimensional being, and by expanding your awareness to that capacity and anchoring yourself outside and within as without, the entirety of everything, you are confirming to yourself that you are this omnidimensional being, and thus, perpetuating it into reality. So you become that, because we get lost. We're lost in the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail. We're lost in the cycle of samsara, another way to put it, the cycle of life and death, and so on. To escape that, we have to acknowledge what we truly are, and until we acknowledge that, we keep coming back. And so by anchoring ourselves this way and that way, and expanding our consciousness and awareness, we are making ourselves not bigger than it or above it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's acknowledging all of it to its fullest potential and becoming it. Might be a little much, but I hope that makes sense.
With it.
Yep.
With it.
What was that, Jordan?
Like you're with it.
Yeah, you're with it. Absolutely. Okay, so any more final thoughts? All right, let's see here. So to kind of review, if anybody participated last week, we're gonna do a short, like if you did a sigil or anything, like Shogun did a sigil workshop, and then I did thought reformation, visualizations, and meditations. And I asked in the Magick chat if people that followed along to keep a journal, and if you have any thought reformations or visualization notes or anything that you would like to share today, you're welcome to, as well the sigil work. If you have something come to fruition, I would gladly hear it today. Otherwise, we can move on, and I can do my closing statements here. That's okay. So a part of the initiation is doing the parts that I've been guiding everyone through here. And so if you did want to become an initiate, you'll have to go through these things eventually to some extent. But I'm just as happy to have people here and listen and join me in this conversation. I'm going to open it up to a discussion here in just a moment. I just shortly want to go over what we've kind of talked about here today. We've talked about the tools that we use in ceremonial magic and what their intent is, their purpose in general, and how we use them in practice. Will come later in the more advanced routes, but I got the basics down today. And your mind, I think, is the number one tool. I should remind you that none of these tools you absolutely need. You do not have to buy them. You do not have to have them in ritual. Your mind is the most important tool. You can manifest astral, lucid versions of these tools on a whim. You should be able, as a magician, to be dropped off in the middle of nowhere, butt naked, and still be able to perform magic proficiently and have results. So, we also went over the Ballistic cross. And the Ballistic cross is the practice in which a magician crystallizes their aura and affirms to themselves that they are the universe and they are divine. And this is what clears doubt. This affirmation is profound when you realize that you are one with everything. The Ballistic cross is that process of reminding yourself through mantra and ritual that you are that. And this practice, just like muscle memory, helps so much get it to your conscious reality. That ebb and flow is going to be important, interacting with your physical, with your mental, and then vice versa, physical to mental. It's back and forth. It's a never-ending ebb and flow. And the more faith you have in the practice, the more great work you'll do. I have been so very pleased to share all of this with y'all. I'm going to save the seasonal fourfold breaths for the next session, and I'll probably put together a couple other basic things that we can go over. As for the assignments for the week, I only ask that you do the Ballistic cross once a day. That is all I ask. If you can do it, great. I really appreciate it. The other assignments, by now, if you are following the initiation, they come as a second nature. So you'll do your thought reformations, visualizations, and meditations all in one go, because you are doing that when you're doing the Ballistic cross. You are doing all three of those first assignments at once in a daily practice. And all you got to do is take your notes about what the experience was like, how it made your day better, so on and so forth. So with that being said, that was today's course. If anyone has some questions, you need clarification on anything whatsoever, please ask now. If not, we can have a short open discussion for about 30 minutes about your views on ceremonial magic, about how I'm doing. I welcome constructive criticism, and just in general, whatever you have on your mind, we'll have a short discussion that's open, and then we'll close up. So any thoughts on anyone's mind?
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm pretty new here. I caught your lecture halfway through, and it's very interesting. So I'm looking at the chat, and that link you have, is that your book?
No. We are following the works of Damien Eccles. I advise kind of reading up on him and kind of following her story. It's a very inspirational story. It's the story that got me into this. So we're following his work. I wanted a very sufficient, practical, and easy to understand text that we could follow along like a textbook. So I chose his work for this course.
Okay, so today your lecture, what was it on specifically? What chapter?
So I kind of like cherry picked to a degree, and I've recommended that people go through and read this on their own, but I'm trying to get to the basics of what's really important here for initiation. So today we talked about the tools that a magician would use, and that implies several things. This episode will be uploaded, so you'll be able to hear it later if you want to backtrack, and then I'll provide some notes as well here in a bit everything that I've referenced here today, I'm going to be posting in the Magic channel as well the Podcast Text channel. So we went over the tools of a magician, and then we went over the Ballistic cross, what it's for, what it does, and a guided meditation for that to get the idea fully across of what it takes to sufficiently do it. And kind of opened up to a few questions here and there. And that was it. I was going to do a second segment, but honestly, I really liked the Ballistic cross meditation so much. I was like, I want this to sink in. I think this is really important for this to sink in, and I just want people to do this once every day as the assignment. So the assignment for this session is doing a Ballistic cross every day, because you are, you're doing the first 3 assignments from the first lesson all in one go, short and easy. Take your notes and you're done. It's much easier now because you've done the first week of practice.
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that cross. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Pinnacles. I just wanted to, state that, I really got something out of that meditation practice. It felt a lot more honed, a lot more centered. You did a really good job. I would like to know more about the words that you used. I know that Kasheka asked that earlier, but can you write them down, or where can I find them, or whatever?
Again, I will provide all the resources for you as soon as we close up shop. I will be posting them in the podcast text and as well the Magic channel, and I will reference the source again. So I will provide that all for you. But to just give a short synopsis real quick, so it's Ate, Malku, Vegruba, Vegrura, and La Alam, and Amen. And so you're saying to yourself, for art, the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever, so be it. And so you're affirming to yourself that you are one with everything and that you are divine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment earlier. Anyone else? It's an open discussion. We got 10-15 minutes. We can kind of branch off wherever you want about ceremonial magic, or we can close up and call it a night. Going once, going twice. All right. Oh, what's up? I saw you unmute.
I was going to say, in the Book of Abramelin, which is the grimoire for the the Holy Guardian Angel ritual. One of the things he mentions as one of his tips or guidances for moving forward with magic is to never use invocations or languages that you do not understand or that are not in your native tongue. And I wouldn't say that this is, a hard and fast rule that you should always stick to, but that this is rather a good guide for moving forward with things like this. With the Ballistic cross, you should probably research the Hebrew, especially if you plan to continue using it in that language.
Yo, thank you so much. That was beautifully said. 100% what this guy just said, that is so important. Do not do any of these things without full knowledge of what you're doing. For one, because you don't know what you're putting out into reality, and so it could be essentially worthless, or you could do something that is irreversible to yourself and your environment. I think indeed it is 100% really important to know what you're saying, why you're saying it, and just your full intent in being 100 with yourself and being 100 with the knowledge that's being given to you from whatever source. And as well, it's a part of the visualization process. If you don't know what you're saying, then you're not even doing the magic in the first place. So knowledge is power. Absolutely. You do need to know. Thank you so much.
I was going to ask you about whether or not it would be possible to do the same thing, but in English.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought about how the sounds themselves, those sounds that you were saying, I think there's also power just in the actual sound itself. Is that true?
Yes. But I personally believe in chaos magic routes. So whatever a magician will to bring into this world, they shall will it. And whatever means they do it in goodwill, is your choice. So if you're doing this in goodwill and you want to use English, I think personally you can have the same results. But I will say, like you said, there is power to the atonement of the names themselves, because they are the first one is a name of God, right? And then the others are the names that have been associated to the tree of life throughout Kabbalah practices. And I think I said that wrong. Kabbalistic practices. And I think that that's really important, is that you are following the path of other magicians that have come before. And if you know what they're saying, then you know that it's all in goodwill. You know that you know what you're messing with, so you don't have to worry about it. But also the tones and the mantras that one would do in this process is kind of similar to like a Buddhist like the you do that, and you do that in particular because it has a particular goal and reason for it. So I would say, if you're gonna say thou art, you need to feel it in your chest, and you need to at least sing it and try to get with it. So I'll do my best because I'm not used to doing it. So you'd go, thou art. It's cutting me out. Friggin' Discord. But the OBS can actually pick this up, so you'll be able to hear it later. But essentially, you get the idea. You want to sing it, you want to feel it in your chest, and you want to feel the vibration. I say, if you're doing that, you got the vibration, you got your intent, that works just as well.
So is it also true that there's actually even more power if you use specific notes, like, you know, on a scale, actual specific notes, like let's say a flat or C sharp or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I've kind of mentioned it here before a couple of times, but the nature at which I learned it is completely different from how I'm teaching it here, and how the Golden Dawn even teaches it, or modern orders teach it. I do the Mongolian throat singing. Like, I do the full blown. I won't even bother doing it because you're not going to be able to hear it. But if you don't know what it is, look it up real quick. Mongolian throat singing. I kind of do that. I do, and it caught a little bit of it, haha. But that's what I personally do, because it has so much power, and I can feel it vibrate in my chest like a gurgle. Like, it's powerful, and it works the best for me. And that's not easy for everybody to do. So I would not ask you to go home and try to learn this in one night. This is something that took me like years to perfect the mantra. It took me years to even pronunciate while doing the notes. So it's not something I would, for sake of a beginner, an initiate, ask you to do this. But down the road, notes, harmonies, etc., they're going to be a vital part in how powerful it feels intuitively to you. Because if you do this, you're going to start seeing that the way your chest vibrates, and your heart starts to glow, and your body starts to glow brighter with the vibrations you're pronunciating, it has an impact that is deeply spiritual, and you can feel it. It is quite psychedelic of a feeling. So yes, it's going to help down the road. Is it important right now? I wouldn't say so. I would just say focus on the intent, visualizations, and just the basic mantras that you can do. And then maybe one day build up to more complex things like Mongolian throat singing, because it has an impact.
I know in the past for myself, there would be times when I was practicing like a scale almost, but also doing some of the different sounds, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed that different ones resonated differently, energetically differently. They had a more of an expansive type of resonance throughout my body, in certain parts of my body. And I wondered if there was something I needed to focus on, like an intention or some kind of working, like you were saying with the meditation there. We did the expanding, right? We imagined ourselves or visualized ourselves being bigger and stuff like that. Do you know if that is also something that would be beneficial to do at those times too?
So specifically, like hitting certain notes? I'm just looking for clarification real quick.
Yeah. So for example, when we were doing the meditation and we were touching the 2 fingers to the forehead, right?
Mhm.
And we were saying those words. I don't remember what they were. We were saying them in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
With a certain tone. If we're actually, for me anyways, if I'm getting the right note, then I feel like an energetic expansion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is that when I need to be imagining that pillar going up when I'm feeling that?
Yeah, I would recommend it. If you're that in tune with yourself and your body and the vibration hits right, and that's like, oh, this is the key that unlocks the door, right? Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Trust your intuition. Seeing that heart out. Like, I see so many people practice and they're very monotone, right? But I've always been one of those people, like, I'm a vocalist. And so, like, for me, feeling the power in my body through the vocalizations is so important. So if that note hits right, then you hit it, girl. You know what I mean? Like, you hit it. You do it. I saw you on mute there, but I can't hear you, Kasheka.
No, because I was thinking,
okay.
because so once the right note is reached for each of those, then I would be imagining, just like in that meditation, right, the expansion of that light pillar, right, reaching out to the different the extremes or unlimited, whatever, the edges of space or whatever, the universe or whatever. You were saying that that's part of me anchoring my light body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why your intuition and feeling it, and if, again, like, if your intuition says that hitting that note that certain way with the right intonement, if that's what gets you there and makes you feel anchored, then do it. That's what it takes. And most people do that. We all have our own way of singing these prayers in private practice. If you're doing group work, it's a little different. You kind of want to be in line with each other. Everyone wants to harmonize and stuff like that. But if you're by yourself, you can invent your whole own way of doing this. You can sing it for all I care. You know what I mean? Like, sing it. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Whatever gets that vibe to your heart and to your soul.
Cool, thanks.
Do you guys think that there's like there's always chanting going on? Because it says like chant with your ears, not your mouth. Do you think there's always like chanting going on somewhere, and you just like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Listen to the crickets chirp outside. You know what I mean? Listen to the birds sing in the morning, every day.
Oh, dude, birds are
us.
so cool. Yeah, it's like another dimension, dude.
The breeze, the leaves, water.
Yeah, the world sings to us. Well, I think this has been beautiful. I would like to close up shop for the day. I think we've covered a lot. Don't forget, the weekly assignment is, if you haven't done the first week's assignment, this week you're doing the Ballistic cross every day. Whenever you get the chance, do it. And I will provide the links to the guided meditation and the podcast text channel and the Magick channel. And with that being said, this has been the Roundtable Podcast. This week was a workshop, part 2 of High Magic. You can find this Discord server and the Discord board. You can find us also on YouTube, BitChute, Spotify. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us at the round table and have a beautiful discussion with us. With that being said, y'all have a beautiful night, and thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you, Drew. Great job.
This has been the Roundtable Podcast, recorded live every day on the Roundtable Discord server, the most interesting server on Discord. Find us on all the major social media platforms.